The dust storm was getting worse. Ji-hoon pulled his scarf tighter around his face and squinted through the dirty windshield of his old rover. He had been driving across the wasteland of Karos 7 for 3 hours now, searching for salvage. The mining colony had been abandoned years ago. But there were still valuable parts scattered across the desert if someone knew where to look, and Ji-hoon knew where to look. He had been doing this for 2 years now, ever since he decided that working alone on the frontier was better than dealing with the bureaucracy of the inner colonies. Out here, nobody asked questions. Nobody cared about his past. He could just work, survive, and be left alone. His scanner beeped. Something metal was ahead, half buried in the sand. Ji-hoon slowed the rover and checked the readings. It was big. Too big to be just scrap from the old mining equipment. His heart beat faster. Maybe it was a crashed shuttle. Those were worth good money. He stopped the rover and climbed out. The wind immediately tried to push him over. Sand stung his exposed skin. He walked forward, following the scanner's signal. After a few minutes, he saw it. Not a human shuttle. An alien ship. Ji-hoon stopped and stared. The ship was small, maybe a scout vessel. Its hull was dark purple and silver, with designs he recognized from news broadcasts. Velthari. His stomach tightened. The Velthari were warriors, proud and strong. They looked down on humans. They considered his species weak, primitive, and barely worth noticing. What was a Velthari ship doing crashed on this forgotten planet? He should leave. That was the smart choice. The Velthari had their own rescue systems. They would come for their people. Getting involved with them only brought trouble. Ji-hoon turned back toward his rover. But something made him stop. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the simple fact that he had been alone for too long and his conscience still worked. He turned back and approached the ship carefully. The hull was damaged. Scorch marks covered one side, the kind that energy weapons made. This ship had been in a fight. The entry hatch was partially open. Stuck halfway, Ji-hoon pulled out his pry bar and worked at it until he could squeeze through. Inside, the ship was dark. His flashlight cut through the shadows. The cockpit was small and efficient, designed for one pilot. And there, slumped in the pilot's seat, was a Velthari. She was tall, even sitting down. Her skin was usually blue. Ji-hoon knew from pictures. But now it looked pale and gray. Her breathing was shallow. Blood, dark purple and thick, covered her uniform. She had been shot at least 3 times. Ji-hoon stood frozen. Every rational part of his brain screamed at him to leave. The Velthari were dangerous. They would not thank him for interfering. In their culture, accepting help from a lesser species was shameful. But she was dying. He could see that clearly. Without help, she would be dead in an hour, maybe less. He moved forward and checked her wounds. His medic training from his years in the merchant fleet came back to him. The bleeding had slowed, but she had lost too much blood. Her pulse was weak. He saw a translator device on her collar, still blinking with power. Ji-hoon made his decision. He could not just let her die. He worked quickly. First, he applied emergency sealant to her wounds. The foam would stop the bleeding and keep infection out. Then, he carefully pulled her from the pilot's seat. She was heavy, much heavier than a human her size would be. Denser bones and muscles, he remembered reading. Built for war, carrying her was difficult. He had to stop 3 times to rest. The storm was even worse now. Sand blasted against him. He could barely see his rover, but he kept going, step by step, until he reached it. Getting her into the back seat was a struggle. He finally managed it and covered her with a thermal blanket. Then he climbed into the driver's seat and started the engine. The rover's medical scanner would have to do until he got back to his ship. As he drove back across the wasteland, Ji-hoon glanced in the mirror at his passenger. What had she been running from? Why was a Velthari warrior alone on this dead planet? Shot and left to die. The translator on her collar suddenly spoke. Its voice mechanical and flat. The device must have recorded something before she lost consciousness. It played back her words, now translated to human language. Traitor. They called me traitor. I could not do it. The civilians. I will not murder children. Ji-hoon's hands tightened on the steering wheel. A traitor. She had been declared a traitor by her own people. That meant other Velthari had done this to her. They would be looking for her. And if they found her with him, they would kill him too. He should dump her somewhere. Leave her at the old colony hospital where she might be found. Distance himself from this problem before it got worse. But Ji-hoon kept driving toward his ship. He thought about those words. She had refused to kill civilians. She had refused to kill children. And her own people had tried to execute her for it. Maybe the Velthari were not as honorable as they claimed to be. Maybe this one warrior had more real honor than all her people combined. His ship, the Wanderer, was waiting at the small landing pad he had built. It was not much to look at, old and patched together from a dozen different vessels. But it was fast, and it was his. He parked the rover and carefully carried the Velthari woman up the ramp. His medical bay was small but well equipped. He had to maintain it for himself, working alone as he did. He laid her on the medical bed and started running scans. The computer confirmed what he already knew. She was critical. Multiple organ damage. Severe blood loss. Without proper treatment, she would die. Ji-hoon rolled up his sleeves and got to work. His hands moved with practiced skill, using human medical techniques to save an alien life. He worked for hours, using synthetic blood that his computer had modified to match her biology as closely as possible. He repaired damaged tissue. He stabilized her vital signs. As dawn broke over Keros 7, he finally stepped back. She was breathing easier now. Her color was slightly better. She would live. Maybe. He had saved her life. Now he needed to figure out what to do with her. The Velthari would be looking for her. He could not leave her here. They would find her and finish what they started, which meant he had to take her with him. He had to run. And by doing so, he was making himself a fugitive too. Ji-hoon looked at his patient, this alien warrior who had chosen mercy over orders. He made his decision. He went to the cockpit and started the launch sequence. The Wanderer lifted off from Keros 7, leaving the dead mining planet behind. He set a course for the outer frontier, away from both human and Velthari space. Away from everything. In the medical bay, the Velthari woman slept on, unaware that a human she had never met had just risked everything to save her life. 3 days into the journey, she woke up. Ji-hoon was in the cockpit checking their course when he heard a crash from the medical bay. He ran back to find her sitting up on the bed, holding a medical tray like a weapon. Her eyes were sharp and focused, scanning for threats. "Easy," Ji-hoon said, keeping his hands visible and open. "You are safe. You were injured. I helped you." She stared at him. Her eyes were golden, he noticed, bright against her blue skin. Her hand moved to her collar where the translator device still blinked. "Human," she said. The translator turned her words into his language a moment after she spoke. "Why am I on a human ship? Where is my vessel? Your ship crashed on Keros 7. Ji-hoon explained. He stayed near the door, giving her space. "You were dying. I brought you here and treated your wounds. You have been unconscious for 3 days. She looked down at herself. At the bandages. At the medical equipment attached to her. Her face showed confusion. Then anger. "You had no right," she said. "I am Velthari. We do not accept help from lesser species. You have shamed me." Ji-hoon felt his own anger rise but pushed it down. "You would rather be dead than accept help from a human?" "Yes," she said immediately. Then she paused. Her hand touched her side where the worst wound had been. "But I am alive. You saved me with human medicine. Primitive techniques. Primitive techniques that worked," Ji-hoon pointed out. "Your people's advanced medicine was not there to help you." "I was." She had no answer to that. She sat on the edge of the bed, her expression troubled. Finally, she spoke again. "I am Nari. My rank was First Blade of the 7th Fleet." "Was?" Ji-hoon asked. Her face became hard. "I am traitor now," declared by the high command. "My rank is nothing. My name is nothing. What did you do?" Nari looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she told him. Her fleet had been ordered to destroy a colony world. The planet held rebels who opposed Velthari expansion. But the planet also held 3 million civilians, including children. The High Command did not care. They wanted the rebels eliminated and decided the best way was to eliminate everyone. Nari had refused to participate. She had argued with her superiors. She had said it was murder, not war. The Velthari claimed to be honorable warriors. But there was no honor in killing children. For her words, she was declared traitor. Her own squad was sent to execute her. She had escaped in a scout ship, but they had damaged it badly. She crashed on Kiros 7 and thought she would die there alone. "I waited for death," Nari said quietly. "It seemed fitting. Better than the shame of execution." Ji-hoon sat down in a chair across from her. "But you were right. What you did took courage." "Courage?" She laughed bitterly. "I am coward. I could not follow orders. You had the courage to say no," Ji-hoon corrected. "That is harder than saying yes, especially when everyone around you is saying yes." Nari studied him with those golden eyes. "Why did you save me? My people despise yours. We call you weak. We call you soft and emotional. And inferior. Why would you risk yourself for me?" Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. 5 years ago, my family was on a transport ship. It was carrying civilians, workers going home after their contracts ended. A Velthari military fleet was conducting exercises in that sector. They did not bother checking what ships were there. One of their weapons misfired. It destroyed the transport. Everyone aboard died. My wife, my daughter, my parents. Nari's face showed shock. Her hands clenched. "Then you should hate me. You should have left me to die." "Maybe," Ji-hoon admitted. "But you are not the commander who gave that order. You are not the soldier who fired that weapon. You are Nari. A person who refused to kill innocents, even when ordered. How could I let you die?" She stared at him as if he were speaking a language her translator could not process. "Your people," she said slowly, "separate individuals from their species? From their government's actions?" "Of course," Ji-hoon said. "Every person makes their own choices. You are responsible for what you do, not for what others of your species do." "We do not think this way," Nari said. "The Velthari are one people, one purpose. Individual choice it is not encouraged." "Then maybe that is why you are here," Ji-hoon said. "Because you chose to be an individual." Before Nari could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Ji-hoon jumped up and ran to the cockpit. Nari followed, moving carefully with her injuries. The scanner showed 3 ships behind them. Velthari design. Fast pursuit vessels. "They found me," Nari said. Her voice was flat. "They tracked my ship's signature before it exploded, or they have been searching this sector. It does not matter. They are here." "Can you fight?" Ji-hoon asked. "Not well. Not yet." "Then sit down and hold on." Ji-hoon's hands flew over the controls. The Wanderer was old, but she was fast, and he knew every trick she could do. He had modified the engines himself, pushed them beyond what the original designers intended. The Velthari ships opened fire. Energy beams lit up space around them. Ji-hoon threw the Wanderer into a dive that no sane pilot would attempt. The ship's frame groaned but held. He spun, reversed thrust, and suddenly they were flying backwards while still moving forward. Another beam missed by meters. Nari gripped her seat. Her face showed something Ji-hoon recognized. Fear. But she did not close her eyes. She watched everything. "This is impossible," she said. "No ship can move like this. The stress would tear it apart." "Human engineering," Ji-hoon said through gritted teeth. He pushed the throttle to maximum, and the Wanderer screamed forward. We build things to break. Then we fix them. Then we push them harder. That is insane. Maybe. He grinned despite the danger. But it works. He dove toward an asteroid field ahead. The Velthari ships followed. They were faster in open space, but here, among the spinning rocks, Jihoon's reckless flying gave him an advantage. He wove between asteroids, sometimes missing collision by centimeters. Behind them, one Velthari ship clipped a rock and exploded. Two left. Jihoon found what he was looking for, a gap between two massive asteroids. He aimed straight for it. The gap was barely wider than his ship. "No," Nari said. "That gap is too small. You will kill us. Trust me," Jihoon said. He did not slow down. At the last second, he rotated the ship 90 degrees. They slipped through the gap sideways, metal scraping against rock. Sparks flew. But they made it through. The Velthari ships tried to follow. They were bigger, less maneuverable. Both ships smashed into the asteroids and disappeared in balls of fire. Jihoon let out a breath he had been holding. He gradually slowed the ship and set a new course. Deeper into empty space, Nari sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "You saved my life again." "I saved both our lives," Jihoon corrected. "You took risks that no Velthari pilot would take. We are trained to never show fear, to calculate every move, to fight with precision and discipline, and I flew on instinct and luck," Jihoon said. "Both approaches have value." Nari shook her head slowly. "I am beginning to think my people are wrong about many things. About humans. About honor. About what makes a warrior strong. You are questioning everything you were taught," Jihoon said. "That must be difficult." "It is," Nari admitted. She looked at him. "But you are alive. I am alive. And back there, you showed me that sometimes rules must be broken. Sometimes the impossible must be attempted. Sometimes." She paused. "Sometimes mercy is stronger than discipline." Jihoon smiled. "You are learning." "Where are we going now?" Nari asked. "To a place called Haven Station," Jihoon said. "It is on the frontier, beyond any government's control. A place for people who do not fit anywhere else. We will be safe there. At least for a while." Nari nodded. She stood up carefully. "I should rest. Heal. If more hunters come, I want to be able to fight beside you." "Beside me?" Jihoon raised an eyebrow. "Not for your people? My people tried to kill me," Nari said simply. "You tried to save me. I think I know which side I should be on." She left the cockpit. Jihoon watched her go, then turned back to the stars ahead. He had saved one alien warrior. He had made himself a fugitive. He had no idea what would happen next. But for the first time in 5 years, since he lost his family, he did not feel completely alone. Haven Station appeared on the view screen like a twisted flower of metal and lights. Ships of every design crowded around it. Human vessels next to alien ones. Military craft beside pirate ships. Nobody cared about your past here. Nobody asked questions. Nari stood beside Jihoon in the cockpit, studying the station. She had healed well over the past week. Her color was back, bright blue like a clear sky. Her movements were strong again. But something else had changed too. She watched everything with new eyes, questioning eyes. "This is safe?" she asked. "Safe is relative," Jihoon said. "But yes. Haven has rules. No fights on the station. No hunting people who are under protection. Break the rules, and Daeho throws you out an airlock." "Who is Daeho?" "You will meet him." They docked at Bay 17. Jihoon led Nari through the airlock and into the station proper. She looked around with obvious surprise. Humans walked past aliens of a dozen different species. Nobody stared. Nobody seemed concerned. "In Velthari space," Nari said quietly, "different species are kept separate. We rule. Others serve. I have never seen this before. Everyone together like equals. That is what Haven is, Ji-hoon explained. A place where species does not matter. Only actions matter. They walked through the crowded corridors. Nari stayed close to Ji-hoon. She noticed how humans here moved differently than in Velthari reports. They were relaxed. They smiled. They touched each other on the shoulder or arm as they talked. Her people never did that. Touch was for battle or ceremony only. Ji-hoon led her to a small shop filled with screens and blinking lights. A woman sat behind the counter, her fingers dancing across multiple keyboards at once. She had short, dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Ji-hoon, the woman said without looking up. I heard you pulled a stupid stunt. Saving a Velthari warrior? Really? Hello to you too, Hiyori, Ji-hoon said with a smile. Hiyori finally looked up. Her eyes fixed on Nari, examining her carefully. She looks better than when you found her, I bet. You always had a soft heart. You know about me? Nari asked. I know everything that happens in this sector, Hiyori said. She was an information broker. Ji-hoon had explained. She bought and sold knowledge. 3 Velthari hunter ships destroyed in an asteroid field. Messages sent back to the fleet about a traitor being helped by a human. Oh yes, I know about you, Nari. Nari stiffened. Then you know I am dangerous to be near. Everyone here is dangerous to be near, Hiyori said. She smiled. That is why we get along. Sit down. Both of you, we need to talk. They sat. Hiyori pulled up information on her screens. Velthari military reports. Encrypted messages. Even internal communications from the High Command. You are not the first, Hiyori said to Nari. Not the first Velthari to refuse an immoral order. Not the first to be declared traitor. There are others, maybe 24 spread across the frontier. They are hiding, like you. Nari leaned forward. Others? I thought I was alone. Nobody is ever truly alone, Hiyori said. There is even a small resistance movement growing inside Velthari space. Soldiers who question the High Command. Officers who think the old ways need to change. Your people are not as unified as they want you to believe. This is, Nari struggled with the words. This is treason to even think about. Or it is loyalty to what your people should be, Ji-hoon suggested. To honor that actually means something. Nari looked troubled. Hiyori continued. The High Command is angry, she said. They sent 3 ships after you. When those ships did not return, they sent a message to all Velthari vessels. You are to be captured alive if possible. Dead if not. And any who help you share your fate. Then Ji-hoon is in danger because of me, Nari said. Ji-hoon is in danger because he chose to be. Hiyori corrected. Nobody forced him. He could have left you on that planet, but I did not, Ji-hoon said simply. Before anyone could respond, alarms rang through the station. Hiyori's screens flashed red. She cursed in 3 languages. Velthari ship just jumped in, she said. Military vessel. They are demanding we turn over the traitor. How did they find us so fast? Ji-hoon asked. They have been watching all the frontier stations, Hiyori said. They knew you would come to one of them eventually. Now they are here. And they have 20 soldiers ready to board. Nari stood. I will turn myself in. This is my problem. I will not let others die for me. Do, sit down, a new voice said. A man entered the shop. He was huge, both tall and broad. Parts of his body were metal, cybernetic enhancements that made him stronger and faster. His face was kind, but his eyes were hard. This was Daeho, the station's security chief. You are under Haven protection now, Daeho said to Nari. That means we do not hand you over. Not to Velthari. Not to anyone. But they will attack the station, Nari protested. Many will die. Let them try. Daeho said. We have rules here. Nobody hunts people under our protection. If the Velthari want to break that rule, they will learn why Haven has survived this long. Through the windows, they could see the Velthari ship. It was big, heavily armed. A transport bay opened, and small assault ships began launching toward the station. "Here they come," Huri said. Deho touched a communicator on his wrist. "All security teams to docking bays. Code Black. Defend the station." Within minutes, Haven transformed. Blast doors sealed sections. Automated defenses powered up. And people, dozens of different species, grabbed weapons and took defensive positions. They did not run. They did not surrender one of their own. The Velthari assault ships docked forcefully at 3 different bays. Soldiers in powered armor poured out. Weapons ready. They expected easy victory. They were wrong. Haven's defenders met them with fury. Human security officers fought alongside alien traitors. Former soldiers stood with reformed pirates. Everyone together, defending their home. Ji-hoon and Nari reached docking bay 7 just as fighting broke out. A Velthari soldier aimed at a human woman who was trying to drag a wounded friend to safety. Nari moved without thinking. She threw herself forward and knocked the soldier's aim off. The shot went wide. The soldier saw Nari and his eyes widened. "Traitor," he hissed. "Yes," Nari said, "and proud of it." They fought. Nari was still not fully healed, but she was trained, skilled. The soldier was strong but slow in his heavy armor. She found the weak points, the gaps in protection. Her people had taught her well. Now she used those teachings against them. The soldier fell. Nari helped the human woman up. The woman stared at her in shock. "You are Velthari," the woman said. "Yes," Nari replied, "and you are under my protection." Around them, the battle raged. But Haven's defenders were winning. The Velthari soldiers were good, but they fought as individuals, each one believing they were superior. Haven's people fought as a group, covering each other, working together. Ji-hoon saw it clearly. The Velthari were trained to be perfect warriors. But humans and their allies were something else. They were survivors who had learned to depend on each other. A Velthari officer tried to retreat back to his assault ship. Deho blocked his path. The officer was bigger, but Deho's cybernetic enhancements made him stronger. They fought briefly. Deho won. Within an hour, it was over. The Velthari soldiers were either captured or dead. The assault ships were disabled. The main vessel in orbit watched it all happen and, surprisingly, did not fire on the station. Deho brought the captured Velthari officer to the main command center. Nari and Ji-hoon were there too. "Tell your ship to leave," Deho said. "Tell them what happened here." The officer glared at Nari. "You fight with humans now? With criminals and outcasts? You have no honor." "I have more honor than you," Nari said calmly. "You came to capture one person, and you did not care how many innocents died in the process. You would have killed everyone on this station if you could. They harbor a traitor." "They protected someone who needed help," Nari corrected. "That is what honor actually means. Not blind obedience. Not killing without question. Real honor is standing up for what is right even when it is hard." The officer had no answer. Deho contacted the ship in orbit. The captain, seeing his soldiers defeated, agreed to withdraw. But he sent a final message. "This is not finished. More will come. The traitor will be found. And all who help her will burn. Let them come," Deho said. Then he cut the transmission. As the Velthari ship jumped away, the station erupted in cheers. They had defended their home. They had protected one of their own. Nari stood by a window, watching the stars. Ji-hoon joined her. "Your people will not stop," she said quietly. "They will keep coming." "Maybe," Ji-hoon said. "But now you are not alone. You have allies. Friends. Friends." Nari repeated the word slowly. "My people do not have friends. We have subordinates and superiors. Comrades in battle. But friends? That is a human word." "It is a good word," Ji-hoon said, "and a good thing to have." Nari turned to him. "When you found me dying, you chose to help. When I woke up angry and ungrateful, you still protected me. When my people came, You and your friends fought for me. Why? I am just one person. Because every person matters, Ji-hoon said. Because you are not just one person. You are Nari. You made a choice that cost you everything. That choice makes you worth fighting for. She looked back at the stars. For the first time in her life, she understood something her people never taught her. Strength was not just about being the best warrior. Strength was also about standing together, about protecting each other, about refusing to abandon someone in need. I will not hide here forever, Nari said. My people are planning something terrible. I have evidence. Data I stole before I fled. Other colonies will burn like the one I refused to destroy. I cannot let that happen. Then we stop them, Ji-hoon said. We? Nari looked at him. This is my fight. Your fight is my fight now, Ji-hoon said. That is what friends do. Nari smiled. It felt strange on her face. Velthari did not smile. Often. But it felt right. Then we have work to do, she said. The data Nari had stolen was encrypted with Velthari military codes. Breaking it took 3 weeks, and help from Hiyori's best hackers. When they finally opened the files, everyone fell silent. The Wanderer's small meeting room was crowded. Ji-hoon, Nari, Hiyori, and 2 other humans named Minho and Samin, who worked as investigators. They all stared at the screens, showing the evidence. 12 colony worlds, Minho said quietly. He was older. Gray hair and tired eyes. They are planning to destroy 12 colony worlds. Billions of people. All because those colonies refused to submit to Velthari authority. When? Ji-hoon asked. The attacks begin in 2 months. Nari said. Her voice was tight with anger. The High Command calls it Operation Final Peace. They will blame rebels, say they had no choice. But it is genocide. Planned and deliberate genocide. End quote. End quote. We need to warn people, Samin said. She was young, maybe 20, with fire in her eyes. Tell the colonies. Tell the Galactic Council. The Council will not believe us, Hiyori said. They fear the Velthari military. They will want proof. Real, undeniable proof. We have proof right here. Minho pointed at the screens. We have data. Hiyori corrected. Data that could be fake. Data provided by a traitor. And a human with a grudge. Against the Velthari. The Council will dismiss it unless we have more. What more do we need? Ji-hoon asked. Witnesses, Nari said suddenly. Other Velthari who will testify. Officers who know about the plan. Soldiers who have seen the preparations. Where do we find them? Samin asked. I know places, Nari said. Bases where dissenting soldiers are sent for re-education. Stations where the resistance hides. If we can reach them, convince them to speak up, their testimony combined with this data will be impossible to ignore. That means going into Velthari space, Minho said. That is suicide. They will kill you both on sight. Then we do not let them see us, Ji-hoon said. We move fast. We stay hidden. We get what we need, and leave. It was a terrible plan. Everyone knew it, but it was the only plan they had. Over the next month, Nari and Ji-hoon traveled to 4 different locations. Each one was dangerous in a different way. The first was a prison colony where Velthari soldiers who questioned orders were sent. They snuck in during a supply delivery and found a captain named Yuna, who had been imprisoned for refusing to fire on a medical ship. I will testify, Yuna said when she heard the plan. I have evidence too. Messages from command. Orders that violate every law of war. Get me out of here and I will tell everyone. They freed her and 2 other prisoners. The escape was messy. Alarms blared. Guards chased them. Ji-hoon flew the Wanderer through a mining field at speeds that made their passengers sick. But they escaped. The second location was a space station on the border. There, they found an information officer named Junho, who had copies of classified orders. He was terrified but agreed to help. My children live on one of the target colonies, he said. I sent them there to keep them safe from the war. Now my own people want to kill them. Yes. I will help you stop this. The third location was more difficult. A military outpost where pilots were stationed. Nari knew there were pilots there who disagreed with the High Command's methods, but reaching them meant going into the heart of enemy territory. This is where I used to serve, Nari said as they approached. I know the patrol routes. I know the security systems. But we will have only minutes once we are inside. Then we make those minutes count, Ji-hoon said. They used false credentials Hayori had created. They got past the first checkpoint, then the second. They found the pilot they were looking for. A woman named Unji who had been demoted for protesting against civilian casualties. But someone recognized Nari, an officer she had served with before her desertion. He triggered an alarm before Nari could stop him. Run! Ji-hoon shouted. They ran through the station with Unji following. Security forces closed in from all directions. They reached the docking bay where the Wanderer was docked, but armed soldiers blocked their path. I will hold them, Nari said. She drew a weapon she had taken from the station. Get to the ship. No, Ji-hoon said. We go together, or not at all. Do not be foolish. I am trained for this. You are not. You are injured and outnumbered, Ji-hoon argued. He was right. She had been shot during the escape, her side bleeding through her clothes. Listen to me, Nari said urgently. The soldiers were getting closer. You showed me what it means to care about individuals, to value one life over orders. If I die here, I die for something worth dying for. You must survive. You must finish this. I am not leaving you. You must. Nari pushed him toward the ship. Then she charged at the soldiers, firing, drawing their attention away. Ji-hoon had a choice. Follow her orders and live, or stay and probably die with her. He chose neither. Instead, he grabbed a fuel container from the dock and threw it at the soldiers. Then he shot it. The explosion was not huge, but it was enough. Chaos erupted. In the confusion, he grabbed Nari and dragged her toward the ship. What are you doing? She demanded. I told you to run. And I told you, Ji-hoon said through gritted teeth, that friends do not leave each other behind. They reached the ship with Yoonji. The Wanderer's ramp closed just as energy beams started hitting the hull. Ji-hoon ran to the cockpit and launched without clearance. The station's defenses fired at them, but he was already moving, pushing the ship to its limits. They jumped to hyperspace with emergency sirens blaring. The ship had taken damage. Systems were failing. But they were alive. In the medical bay again, Ji-hoon worked on Nari's wound. It was not as bad as the first time, but it still needed treatment. You are an idiot, Nari said. But she was smiling. You already knew that, Ji-hoon replied. He sealed the wound and checked her vitals. She would be fine. You should have left me, Nari said more seriously. I gave you an order. I do not take orders from you, Ji-hoon said. We are partners, equals. And equals do not abandon each other. My people would say you are weak. That you let emotion cloud your judgment. That you risked the mission for one person. Your people are wrong about a lot of things. Nari was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke softly. 5 years ago, you lost your family to my people. You had every reason to hate all Velthari. But you saved me. You protected me. You refused to leave me even when it was logical to do so. I do not understand why. Ji-hoon sat down beside her bed. When I found you dying, I saw a person who needed help. Not a Velthari. Not an enemy. Just someone who was suffering. And you had made a choice I respected. You refused to kill innocents. That choice made you different from the officers who killed my family. But the pain I caused you, you did not cause it, Ji-hoon said firmly. Other people did. People who happen to share your species. But you are not them. You are you. Every person makes their own choices. Bears their own responsibility. I judge you by your choices, not by what others have done. This idea, Nari said, that individuals can be separated from their group, from their species, their government, their people. My culture does not think this way, but I see now that maybe it is a better way. A more just way. It is the human way, Ji-hoon said. We learned it because we have always been divided. Different nations. Different beliefs. Different colors of skin. We fought wars over these differences, but eventually, we learned that we were all human underneath. All individuals deserving of judgment based on our own actions. You are teaching me so much, Nari said. About honor. About friendship. About what it means to truly care about someone. You are a good student. They rested for a day while the ship's automatic systems repaired the damage. Then they continued to the fourth location. This one was the most dangerous. A communication hub deep in Velthari space where messages from the High Command were routed. If we can access their systems, Yoonji explained, we can get direct communications. Orders from the commanders themselves. That evidence cannot be dismissed. Breaking into the hub required all of them. Unji knew the codes, Junho knew the security systems, Yuna knew the guard rotations, Nari knew the layout, and Ji-hoon was the pilot who could get them out. They succeeded. Barely. They copied months of classified communications, orders to prepare orbital bombardment fleets, discussions of how to cover up the genocide, exact dates and targets, but getting out was harder than getting in. They were discovered. This time, there was no clever escape. Just desperate flying and luck. Ji-hoon took damage to the ship that would cost thousands to repair. His shoulder was injured when an explosion threw him against the wall. But they escaped. Now they had everything. Evidence, witnesses, undeniable proof of what the Velthari High Command was planning. We need to take this to the Galactic Council, Yuna said. They will not see us, Junho worried. We are fugitives and traitors. Then we make them see us, Ji-hoon said. We go to the council chambers. We demand an emergency session. We present everything we have found. We force them to listen. They could arrest us, Unji pointed out. Then they arrest us, Nari said. Better to be arrested than to stay silent while billions die. Ji-hoon looked around at this strange group. A human salvager with a broken past. A Velthari warrior who had chosen mercy over obedience. 3 more Velthari who had risked everything for what was right. They were all criminals in the eyes of the Velthari government. All traitors, but they were also heroes. Even if nobody ever called them that. Then it is decided, Ji-hoon said. We go to the council. We tell the truth. And we hope the galaxy is ready to listen. The Galactic Council chambers were impressive. A massive spherical room with seats for representatives from 47 different species arranged in rising circles. At the center was a platform where speakers stood. Above everything, holographic displays could show evidence to all present. Ji-hoon stood on that platform now, feeling very small. Beside him stood Nari and the other Velthari witnesses. Behind them, sitting in the human delegation seats, was Taemin, a diplomat who had agreed to sponsor their emergency session. The room was full. Every species had sent representatives when they heard what this session was about. The Velthari delegation sat in their section, cold and proud in their military uniforms. Their lead representative, a general named Kangmin, watched Nari with obvious hate. This council is now in session, the council president announced. She was a Nexar, a species known for fairness and wisdom. We have heard a request for emergency session regarding accusations of planned genocide by the Velthari High Command. The human delegation has sponsored this session. You may present your evidence. Taemin stood. He was in his 50s, calm and professional. Thank you, Council President. I yield my time to Ji-hoon Park, who has brought this matter to our attention. Ji-hoon took a breath. Public speaking was not his skill. He was a pilot, a mechanic, someone who worked with his hands. But he had to do this. Honorable council members, he began. 2 months ago, I found a Velthari warrior dying on a remote planet. She had been shot by her own people for refusing an illegal order. I saved her life. What I learned from her changed everything. He activated the holographic displays. Files appeared. floating in the air for everyone to see. Communications. Orders. Battle plans. Operation Final Peace, Ji-hoon continued. That is what the Velthari High Command calls it. But it is not peace. It is the planned destruction of 12 colony worlds. Billions of innocent lives. Men, women, children, all to be eliminated because they dared to resist Velthari expansion. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Velthari delegation remained silent, their faces showing nothing. These documents are classified military communications, Ji-hoon said. They detail exact dates, target coordinates, and weapon deployments. They discuss how to blame the colonies themselves, how to claim they were harboring dangerous rebels. But the truth is clear. This is genocide. General Kang Min stood. These documents are obvious forgeries, created by a traitor and a human with known hatred of the Velthari. This entire session is a waste of time. Let him finish, the council president said firmly. Ji-hoon nodded his thanks. I am not the only witness. 4 Velthari officers are here to testify. They have seen the preparations. They have refused to participate. They are willing to speak truth, even though it may cost them everything. One by one, Yuna, Junho, Unji, and finally Nari stepped forward. Each told their story. Each presented their evidence. Each confirmed what the documents showed. When Nari spoke, her voice was strong and clear. I was First Blade of the 7th Fleet. I was ordered to participate in the destruction of a colony world. I refused. Not because I am weak, not because I lack discipline, but because I saw the truth. This operation was not about security. It was about power, about forcing submission through terror. You are a traitor, Kang Min said coldly. You abandoned your duty. Your word means nothing. Kang Min, you abandoned. I abandoned murder, Nari replied. I abandoned the killing of innocents. If that makes me a traitor to the Velthari, then I am proud to be one. But I am loyal to something greater. To the idea that strength should protect the weak, not destroy them. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives from smaller species, those who had always feared the Velthari, began speaking up. They had suspected. They had seen signs, but they had been too afraid to challenge the mighty Velthari military. Taemin stood again. Council President, if I may? You may speak, Ambassador Taemin. Taemin walked to the center platform. His voice carried through the chamber, calm but powerful. I have served in diplomatic service for 30 years, he said. I have seen war. I have seen peace. I have seen the best and worst of many species. Today, I want to talk about strength. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various representatives. The Velthari claim to be the strongest species. They point to their military power, their warrior tradition, their conquest of many worlds. And yes, they are strong in that way, but there is another kind of strength. He gestured to Ji-hoon and Nari. This human man found an enemy warrior dying. He had every reason to leave her. His family was killed by Velthari forces. He was alone on a dangerous planet. Helping her brought him nothing but trouble. Yet he chose to save her anyway. Taemin paused. That is strength. The strength to show mercy when you could show cruelty. The strength to help when you could ignore. The strength to risk yourself for someone who cannot repay you. He turned to Nari. This Velthari warrior refused an order that would have brought her honor in her society. She chose what was right over what was easy. She sacrificed everything for people she did not know. That is strength too. Humans judge individuals by their choices, Taemin continued. Not by their species. Not by their government. Not by what uniform they wear. We judge them by what they do when faced with a choice between right and wrong. Today, these 5 individuals made the right choice. They risked their lives to stop a genocide. They deserve to be heard. The chamber was silent now. Everyone was listening. The question before this council is simple, Taman said. Do we have the strength to act? Do we have the courage to stand against a powerful military force and say, no, you cannot do this? Or are we too weak, too afraid, too willing to look away while billions die? He looked at the Velthari delegation. I do not hate the Velthari people. Many of them are honorable. But their leadership has lost its way. They have confused strength with cruelty, honor with obedience. These operations must be stopped. General Kangman stood. You have no authority over Velthari military operations. We answer to no one. This council cannot stop us. Then you admit it is true, the council president said sharply. You admit these operations are planned. Kangmin realized his mistake. He had been too confident, too dismissive. He tried to recover. I admit nothing. But even if such operations existed, they would be justified. Necessary for security. Necessary? A small species representative stood. The Torven people were peaceful, never strong in military power. Killing children is necessary? Destroying entire worlds is necessary? We have lived in fear of the Velthari for decades. Today, we say no more. We support sanctions. We support military intervention if needed. This must stop. Other representatives stood, one after another. Species that had never agreed on anything suddenly united in opposition to genocide. The vote was called. Economic sanctions against the Velthari. Immediate council oversight of their military operations. Cancellation of Operation Final Peace, or face combined military response from council forces. The vote passed. 43 species in favor. 2 abstaining. Only the Velthari voted against. Kangman stood in fury. You will regret this. The Velthari do not bow to threats. Then you will bow to consequences, the council president said. This council is adjourned. As representatives filed out, many approached Jihun and Nari. They thanked them. They called them heroes. It was overwhelming. Later, in a quiet room provided by the human delegation, the group gathered. Yuna, Junho, and Yunji were being offered asylum by several species. They would be safe. They could start new lives. What will you do? Jihun asked Nari. She looked at him with those golden eyes. The resistance movement in Velthari space needs leaders. Soldiers who can show there is another way. I think I should go back. Not to the high command, but to my people. To those who are ready for change. That is dangerous, Jihun said. Everything worth doing is dangerous, Nari replied with a smile. You taught me that. When do you leave? Tomorrow. A ship from the resistance will meet me at the border. They stood in silence for a moment. So much had happened since that day on Karos 7. Since Jihun found a dying stranger and refused to leave her. Thank you, Nari said quietly, for saving me, for protecting me, for showing me what real strength is. I was dying on that planet. You gave me life. But more than that, you gave me purpose. You gave yourself purpose, Jihun said. I just helped you see it. I will never forget what you did. What humans did. My people called your species weak. But I have seen your strength. It is different from ours, but it is real. It is valuable. It is something we need to learn. Maybe someday our people will be friends, Jihun said. Real friends. Not afraid of each other. Not seeing enemies. Just people. I will work toward that day, Nari promised. I will tell everyone what I learned. That mercy is not weakness. That helping others is not shameful. That every individual has value. She stepped forward and did something no Velthari would normally do. She embraced Jihun. A human gesture of friendship she had learned. Thank you, my friend, she said. Stay safe, Nari, Jihun replied. The next morning, she was gone. Jihun received a message from her a few days later. Just a few words. I have reached the resistance. They are listening. They are changing. What you started on that planet continues to grow. There is hope now. Thank you, friend. Jihun smiled. He had gone to Karos 7 looking for salvage. He had found something much more valuable. He had found proof that one person's choice could change everything. That mercy was stronger than hate. That friendship could cross any divide. 6 months passed. Then a year. News came from Velthari space. The resistance was growing. More soldiers were refusing immoral orders. The High Command was struggling to maintain control. Change was coming, slowly but surely. And at the center of that change was a warrior named Nari. A traitor who had become a hero. A Velthari who had learned from a human what true strength meant. One day, Ji-hun received another message. This time with a video. Nari stood in front of a crowd of Velthari. Thousands of them. She was speaking about honor, about courage, about the importance of individual choice. She ended her speech with words she had learned from a human salvage pilot on a forgotten planet. "We are strong," she said. "Not because we can destroy, but because we can protect. Not because we conquer, but because we show mercy. Not because we obey without question, but because we choose what is right." The crowd cheered. Change was happening. Ji-hun turned off the message and looked out at the stars. He thought about that day on Keros 7. About a dying stranger. About a choice he had made without thinking. Sometimes the smallest actions created the biggest changes. Sometimes saving one life meant saving millions. Sometimes refusing to leave someone behind meant changing an entire civilization. He had been just a salvage pilot. She had been just a warrior. But together, they had proven something important. That individuals matter. That choices matter. That one act of compassion can spark a revolution. And that was the real strength of humanity. Not weapons, not technology, not even courage in battle, but the simple, powerful refusal to walk away from someone who needs help, even if they are a stranger, even if they are an enemy, even if helping them costs you everything, because that is what friends do. And in the end, friendship might just be the strongest force in the galaxy.